What comes first, performance or culture? Today we're going to discuss how you can build team culture. I'm going to give you some tangible, practical best practices that you can incorporate today that will immediately impact your team's culture. Top performing teams have top performing cultures. And if your team isn't performing, the first place you should look is your team culture. What actions as a leader are you doing on a daily basis that send the right culture signals to your team? I'm Duke, welcome to The Skinny. Today's content comes to you from Daniel Coyle's book, The Culture Code. There is a link in the resource box below. If you haven't read it, take a read. Culture is a set of living relationships working towards a common goal. It's how your team behaves as a unit. It's not something that's even tangible. It's not something you are. It's not an object. It's not a pool table in the office. It's what you do. It's the signals that you send to your team on a daily basis that either signal strong culture or weak culture. Great cultures are in fact created by 3 skills. Number 1, build safety. Number 2, share vulnerability. And number 3, establish purpose. Now, building these skills is like building muscle. You got to get your reps in. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes consistently working these skills so that you can build a strong team culture. Let's tackle building safety first. Members of high-performing teams feel like they're part of a tight-knit family rather than being part of an organization. They have a high level of chemistry, connection, contribution, and they're always confident that others on that team have their back. So when you're building safety on your team, it's not the individual skills of the members that matter. It's how they communicate and interact with their teammates that matters. Researchers have identified 5 measurable factors that drive a sense of belonging to a tight-knit family rather than being part of a team. Now, these 5 behaviors are present on all top-performing teams, and they're an excellent predictor of future success. So if you want to evaluate your team's culture, evaluate them through the lens of these 5 behaviors. Number 1, everyone talks and listens in roughly equal measure. Number 2, members have high levels of eye contact with their teammates. Number 3, everyone speaks directly with each other, not just to the team leader. Number 4, members feel free and comfortable carrying on side conversations with each other after meetings and team calls. And number 5, everyone feels empowered to bring ideas and information to share. How do you build safety on your team? 3 tips. Number 1, overdue giving thank yous. Make it a point to deliver 1 thank you at a minimum per day. Pull someone on your team aside and thank them for being part of their growth. The more effusively you can do this, the more you can affirm and strengthen the relationships on your team. And it's been proven that if you express thanks, you ignite cooperative behavior. Tip number 2, and my pet peeve, avoid giving sandwich feedback. No need to give good, bad, good feedback. Great teams, great leaders don't do it because it's confusing. If you have to give tough feedback, do it with a direct, personal conversation in private. And when you get to deliver praise, do it in public. As a leader, to build safety on your team, you've got to be able to deliver tough but truthful feedback in a way that doesn't generate dissent or disappointment. Now, the way you do that is when you pull the person aside, you share with them, I'm giving you these comments because I have high expectations of you. And I know that you can rise to the occasion and meet and exceed those expectations. And tip number 3, everyone on your team has a voice. Don't end any call or any meeting without hearing from everyone on your team. Could be a comment, could be some feedback, could be an idea. Everyone has a voice. So how do we share vulnerability on our team as leaders? 2 tips for you. Number 1, don't really have a good name for this one, but I call it my sticky note reminder. Have it on my computer. I look at it before and during each one-on-one call and team call. And it's a small sticky note with 4 words. Here it is. Listen, ask, vulnerable, and thank you. If I'm doing those 4 things every day, then I am sending the right signals to my team that vulnerability is okay. Am I listening or am I interrupting? That's a big one for me. Number 2, asking. Am I asking questions? Am I coaching by asking questions? Number 3, am I myself as the leader showing vulnerability and thanking them for being vulnerable themselves? And lastly, am I thanking them? Am I showing gratitude for the contribution that they're making? If I'm doing that on a daily basis, then I'm creating an environment where vulnerability is good, right? It's powerful for the folks on your team to hear something that you screwed up and a lesson that you learned from that. And it's okay for them to feel like I don't have to be perfect, right? If I step outside and try something outside the box that's creative, if I fail, that's okay as long as I learn from it and we move forward. It also sets up a great conversation for you to have with that person on how you can make them or help them to be more effective. The second thing you can do to share vulnerability on your team, now this one's got to be calculated, and I would only recommend doing it in a low consequence scenario, but disappear on purpose as a leader. If you show up late or you don't show up, it'll force other people on your team to step up and lead. They'll have to get vulnerable, they'll have to come together, they'll have to come up with a solution, and it'll be something they're committed to. And that's a good thing. Whenever you thrust a group of people into the unknown to do something that they're not prepared to do, they're going to get vulnerable and they're going to move forward. And again, that's a good thing. That's how you want your team to act when you're not there. So you have to practice that, right? Vulnerability does not come after trust. It precedes it. Great teams have high purpose environments. So how do you create a high purpose environment for your team? 3 tips. Number 1, name and rank your priorities. Know what your team will be known for. This may take some wrestling back and forth, but you have to bring your team together and get everybody on the same page. What matters most to this team? What are our top core values and how are we going to behave? Now, top teams generally have 5 or fewer priorities, and the top 1 or 2 always have something to do with how they're going to treat each other. This is your most important job as a leader. If you can work out and be successful at getting the interpersonal relationships right on your team, everything else will follow. Second thing you can do to establish purpose is embrace the use of catchphrases. Have a team motto, have a rallying cry. Great companies do. Look at Zappos, create fun and a little weirdness. The All Blacks rugby team, leave the jersey in a better place. Find something that inspires and connects your team to their purpose and have it as a catchphrase, have it as a motto. The third tip when establishing purpose is to separate personal development and business development. It's your job as a leader to purposefully build both your business and your people. Now, if you're not having a routine call with the people on your team where they can pick what they want development on, then you are signaling to them that the business is more important than their professional development. You're not deliberately focused on their personal development. Now, I'm a big fan of the Situational Leadership One-on-One form. There is a link in the resource box below. I highly recommend giving it a shot. It provides your people an opportunity to say, I would like development on this topic. Here's how I diagnose myself. It'll force you to use situational leadership and actually coach your people on a weekly basis. Building purpose, establishing purpose on your team is a never-ending process of trying, failing, reflecting, and most importantly, learning and moving forward. That's it, folks. If you can incorporate a few of those best practices, then you will be a little bit better at building team culture.